So there's a couple of deer tracks. Claw at the top of their pad. We got a beaver that actually... Oh, she's a beauty. Hello everyone. It's a big open field and there's a creek down this way. It's a bit windy, so hopefully you can hear me. So you can see I'm walking through a beautiful field with plenty of flowers. Everything is lush and green. It's warm out. It's about 18 degrees Celsius at the moment. But yeah, I'm heading out to check on my trail cam that I have wrapped around a tree right now, kind of monitoring the situation down by the creek, down by this river. I've got my big orange backpack on with lenses. I got my drone out, though it's quite windy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fly it. And I'm excited just to share a little bit about why I'm out here. This is the area right here where I set up my trail cam, and I think it has potential. So there's a couple of deer tracks down along here and there's some raccoon tracks. Over there is where I have my cam trail. Alright, I'm just going to take a look inside here and see if I got some good footage. So this takes photos as well as video, both during the daytime and at nighttime. First little bit is just a lot of pictures of me. Ah, no way. So we got a beaver that actually came swimming and crawling up over this rock. So that's pretty cool. What's neat about this is that it actually has a timestamp on it, so I know if there is activity that gets picked up by this, the activity records the date and time. So that's quite useful if I know that the beavers are quite active between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. I can be down here to maybe photograph them while they're active, as opposed to say if it was between midnight and 1 or 2 in the morning. There's also raccoons, so the raccoons come walking along here. There's one here where it shows 3 deer in a row, and I can see their paths. Every time I come down here, I see their footprints leading up to the stream, and it seems like they come walking down along the river's edge, and this is where they cross and they go up and over. So there are some deer tracks. Here's another one. In this case, the deer are making their way over to where the creek is. Again, here's more deer tracks. I haven't seen any raccoon. Oh, what do you got here? Little raccoon tracks. Now in the video it shows the raccoon kind of coming across here. That's where I had the trail cam set up. I think I'm gonna move it. There's a lot of activity that happens along this kind of fallen rotten tree. But as you can see, there's a lot of tracks in and around here. And this is the majority of traffic that comes down here and then even slips off into the river here. So where I've seen the beaver last is right here, but he slipped off underneath that tree and the creek kind of winds its way up through the valley here. great spot. There's a bit of a breeze, and I want to talk to you about telephoto photography. This is my Nikkor 500 f4 lens. This is the extent of it, and this lens hood, which is quite long, goes on top of that. It's a big, heavy lens, and the majority of what you would want to purchase this for and use it for would be wildlife photography. It could be at a sports show. You want to take photos of cars, maybe driving around the raceway, as well as say horse races, dog races, that sort of thing. So this is very useful in sports, but those who are probably following my page, it's wildlife that you would use it for. Telephoto lens, if you haven't guessed it, is very much like binoculars. It allows distant objects and views to be magnified, and there's a series of glass that helps in that magnification inside a telephoto lens. Why that is very useful: one is if you can't get close to a subject, this helps you get closer to it without physically getting closer. Another reason why this is very useful is in wildlife. Be scarce, spooky, can't really get close to a lot of wildlife without it just running off. And also, we don't want to get really close to wildlife to disturb them, scare them, spook them, especially when you got larger animals like grizzly bears, or if you're shooting in Africa, lions, that sort of thing. We want them to feel comfortable in their habitat, to be able to do what they do, whether it's hunting or mating. We can zoom in with a telephoto lens and capture that without really being seen. The other side of the telephoto world, I think, that for me is just as important as wildlife, is landscape photography. So telephoto landscapes, and I use this almost every time I'm out shooting wildlife. I tend to capture a unique image out in the field of that just landscapes. And one of the things that telephoto does, other than a wide angle, is not only magnify it, but it compresses it, and it pulls in so much detail from very, very far away right up close to either the subject, or it can even take elements in the foreground, and it just creates this beautiful bouquet effect. I'm on my Instagram right now, and I'm just going through some of the examples that I couldn't have got the shot without a telephoto lens, and the majority are taken on my 500. I also have right here is a 70-200 telephoto. This one's a 2.8 aperture. This photo right here of the trees, they are cedar trees from what I remember. They kind of have the unique bark and the trunk that goes down to their roots. Was a really cool image. I was actually out looking for a wolf or multiple wolves in this area. There was a report of them, so took the telephoto, went out, and in search of wolves. Didn't see any wolves, but constantly I'm looking at areas where I can still take photos, and this photo presented itself, and the compression and how close each one of these trunks of trees, it gave this really fine art feel. And so really enjoyed that. This next photo, which is a photo of the lighthouse with the mountains behind it. This was taken with the 500. These are the Olympic Mountains, and I pressed them right up against the backside of this lighthouse. Now there's a whole strait, there's a huge body of water between this lighthouse and these mountains, but with the telephoto, with that compression, when you're zooming into a subject, everything in the background and foreground just gets compressed. Here's another one that I took from a mountaintop, and what's unique about this is that with huge vistas, I think the first thing that people think, they go to this vista and they take a wide angle picture, say of like the Grand Canyon, like something huge. You're thinking, I need to fit all of this into one photo, and it's just not possible to be able to convey something that huge, that large inside an image. With a wide angle, yes, it was beautiful, and I have another photo of the valley, but there's too much in there unless you're blowing it up the size of a billboard or something in your home. There's too much information in there. It kind of lost its grandeur, and instead using a telephoto, zooming in, you're still capturing a lot of detail. I mean, there's probably a few hundred trees here, and they're really large trees, and I'm able to compress that image and get a unique perspective, unique angle that you wouldn't be able to get if you didn't have a telephoto. Here's another one of the Rocky Mountains during like twilight. The sun is setting, and I'm looking down a road, and that one was taken with this 70-200. I went further back along the road to capture this kind of driving down this single lane road with these epic mountains in the background and these nice alpine trees just up on the side. I was up at a cabin here, and that's my sister-in-law. She's sitting out posing. She's probably actually reading a book, and this cabin just looks so cute, kind of tucked away off into the woods. And with a wide angle, yes, I could capture kind of the cabin nice and tall, but really it looked so much better by kind of running way back off into the bushes. I put on the 70-200, and it's a great shot. Now I went back there, and if I swipe, zoom, there's the same shot. I remembered where I was. I ran back and took the picture, and this time this is my wife in the red jacket up on the porch there. And again, I think how I look at these images is, are you looking to just capture, if you're using a wide angle, you get up close and the rest of the trees would either be distorted on the edges, there maybe be some distortion on the cabin, and that's fine, that's a different shot. But if I wanted to showcase this cabin tucked into the woods and show more trees on the side, I gotta go further back and zoom in. Now, this shot of mountaintops, I think that's the beginning that people tend to dive into when they're doing landscape photography with their telephoto. Oh, it's so much nicer out here in the sun. So much nicer. Well, when you're in the Rockies looking for those birds or grizzly bears, elk, you look up at these mountains, and the peaks, the wind, the snow blowing off the peaks, all of that it just attracts your eye because everything is beautiful there in the mountains and the Rockies. And maybe that's your first transition. The only way to really actually capture them is by zooming in with the telephoto. And so this next shot's a piece of driftwood, and my wife and I were up on the north end of Vancouver Island, and some of these beaches are just pristine. They're amazing, sandy as far as the eye can see. On this particular day, there was a piece of driftwood that looked like a dragon, and all of the branches that came off the trunk that are broken off kind of look like a spiky tail, and it had this eye to it and mouth. The whole thing, as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh, it looks like a dragon. all of these just really capture not only the subject standalone, but even the landscape and stuff behind it. Check this out. This is where the beaver chopped down another tree, and in here is where I have some video footage of the beavers coming and going. Yeah, another shot on the north end of the island is a place called Cape Scott, and one of the most iconic spots there is these cauldrons of rocks where the tide comes in and it surrounds all of these rock formations. Yeah, so I thought, all right, I've tried some wide angle shots. I even tried standing in, shouldn't say tried, I actually have a photo.
It's
and
cold.
here it is. Long exposure where I'm standing in the ocean, taking a photo, trying to capture, you know, everything all in one shot. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, you got your backpack on, you look cool, you look great, got all your camping equipment, head down the beach, and I'm gonna zoom into this area where these rock formations are, compress the image, and you can see the ocean crashing in the waves and the color. It was just awesome. And yeah, that's one of my favorite shots that I took with the telephoto lens with Haley up there on Cape Scott. Now, another one that might be a bit obvious is taking photos of the moon. Take the telephoto out, line it up, you zoom in, and if you can get far enough back where you have some interesting foreground elements, like this photo here. One thing that I never forget after a trip like this is how heavy all the gear weighs. On your back, your spine, your legs are sore. So there is that. If you don't like the way that sounds, then don't get a telephoto lens. So if you like this content and you want to see more like it, I've got a couple more videos, one on waterfall photography, as well as photographing in the woods. So those videos are going to be up on the screen here. And if you aren't subscribed, man, give me that subscribe. Click that button and give me the thumbs up, because that also helps me out. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. But it helps out with the algorithm and YouTube. So thanks so much for watching. Look at that view. It is stunning out. I feel like just taking a nap right here. Perfect spot. Every day is an adventure, and if you have questions or comments, I want to hear from you. So drop them down in the comment box down below, and I'll see you next time. How's the lighting on my face? Let's cut that last little chunk of talk. That was stupid. Here's another one that I